make sure that our Twitch stream is going.
Nice.
Behold.
All right, then. All right. Stream looks good. Let me make sure the sound is good.
I just saw your tweet.
All right. Okay, we're good.
Submitted
I love
for
it.
the Midnight Society.
Are you afraid of the dark?
I guess I'll do the first story, and if you want to do the second one, Derek, and then we'll just we'll leapfrog for the video game history. So Wally, you'll be in the middle of that with us.
Are we doing like the bullet points?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'll start, and Derek goes second, and you go third, and we'll just keep doing that until we end. There's a lot of news for December.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm like, good Jesus.
But
There's so much here.
I'm good to go if you guys are.
I'm good.
Yeah, we might as well since we're all here.
All right, let's do this. I got all my levels.
Let's
good.
cast some pods.
Let's cast a pod. All right, here we go. Get this.
And I've got the chat up if needed.
Okay. You keep an eye on that because I got 50 other things to do here.
Okay.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Do you like this show and want to help support us? Do you want us to stay ad-free? Do you want extra episodes every month? Of course you do. Well, then head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro and become a Patreon supporter of this very show. And welcome back to another edition of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
And tonight we have our official fact checker, Mr. Wally Phelps.
That would be correct.
Wally, you looked so serious during the intro. What was going on over there?
Yes. I had to cough, and I was like, what am I... My cough button isn't working. What do I do?
You have a mute button. Use it.
It wasn't working.
So, Derek, this last weekend, I made a little trip over to Pensacola to help you do something. So tell everybody what happened this weekend and how stress-free you are at this point.
I mean, we just hung out and played some video games for a couple of days.
Did.
I don't know what you're... No. So we filmed The Parker Syndrome, my directorial debut into the film realm. I will say the beginning of it was a little hectic. For one, I was extremely nervous because I've never directed anything before. We were a little light on crew for Saturday. We got started late. The first scene took 2.5 hours to do. But really after that, everybody kind of got into a groove, and the rest of the entire weekend was relatively stress-free. I thought everyone did a fantastic job. It was better than anything that I could have ever hoped for. And
lucky.
You know, from you to Steve to Kevin to everyone who helped out this entire weekend, I am eternally grateful. I'm still on that high of having it, finished as far as shooting goes and everything. And it was just a great experience, and I thought the cast did a great job. We kept the mood light behind the scenes, which I thought was very good. That way, we weren't all wanting to kill each other. So, yeah, it was great. I'm still very tired. We finished on Saturday. We finished an hour behind schedule. Crew call was at 8. We started filming roughly around 10:15, 10:30. And we wrapped up a little bit after 9. So then it was the same situation on Sunday, but we were able to finish the first scene early because Steve I won't say he flat out talked me into it, but he had a little bit of an idea that I kind of molded, where we basically shot the climax of the film as one extended take, meaning there are no cuts or anything. It's just one continuous shot.
One
We rehearsed.
scene.
Hmm?
That scene lasted 3 minutes, 3 full minutes.
Yeah. So we rehearsed that thing because it not only did it have the two actors, but it also had multiple extras, a lot of moving and coordination. We rehearsed it, what would you say, 6 or 7 times?
Yeah.
Before we actually rolled, and then it took us
9 takes.
9 takes to get it down. And I take 8 was really good, but I wanted to do it one more time just for safety purposes.
Yeah.
And that last take was just perfect, and we were all like crowding around the monitor watching it, just geeking out over how well it went. So we ended up wrapping, as we had set aside 4 hours to shoot that thing, and we finished it by noon.
Yeah, that was a brave thing to do. That one huge tracking shot through a crowd of people with lots of moving parts. So you have my respect for actually attempting that. I never would have attempted that in a million years. Not with the time crunch we were in.
Well, had we had more time, I was going to consider possibly bailing on it, just because I didn't want to keep going through it and it not be right.
Yeah.
So then I would have just switched to, okay, we'll get a 2-shot, we'll get solo shots, we'll get close-ups, blah, blah, blah. But it worked.
Yeah.
And we had a very nice, relaxing lunch, went to the next location, got that done, and we were wrapped before 5:30.
And I did sound mixing for the movie, so when you get the files and there's nothing on them, you'll know it's completely my fault.
No, I highly doubt that's the case.
It's a library of off-the-shelf special effect sounds. So like a Halloween album. It's like,
Yeah.
Ooh, what the hell is this? Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're just going to have to do the whole thing over again.
Like I told Derek, I was like, we're in the middle of the shoot, and I'm like, why did you pick the guy with the hearing problem to do sound for the movie?
Because I had all the faith in the world in you, Jason.
Because you'll be listening harder than anyone else.
That's the thing is the camera guy, Kevin. He could actually hear everything coming out of my headphones. I had them so loud. And he's like, is that hurting your ears? Do you need me to turn all that stuff down? I'm like, no, trust me. I need it as loud as possible so I can hear everything going on.
That's actually a funny segue to kind of a running gag throughout the weekend, is that all the actors they had lav mics on.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that they had a mute button.
After I told them they had a mute button. I told everyone they had a mute. I heard everyone. I know what everyone sounds like when they pee now.
Yeah.
You ever see The Naked Gun?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. So yeah, I got to hear people pee all weekend.
Oh, not just you. We could all hear it through your headphones.
It was so loud, so everybody got to hear everybody peeing. So it was a good thing.
Yeah. But no, it was a really great experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. And I'm still exhausted from it, but if the opportunity presented itself to do another shoot this weekend, I would do it in a heartbeat. See, now that I've had a taste of it, I want more of it. Like I've had the crack.
Yes.
And now I want more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything went well for you too, so you've got the taste of what a good set is like, Well,
yeah, and for that I especially owe thanks to Steve Wise and Kevin for really helping me out with everything and making it way easier than it probably should have been.
So what about you, Mr. Wallace? What have you been up to lately?
Stuff and things.
Yeah.
I've been working on my upcoming show, the Great Movie Guide, which is going to be a podcast that I'm going to release, and this is an exclusive on May 1st of next year. The podcast is basically going to be, everybody sends me a top 100 movies of all time list, and I'm compiling them to make the 100 favorite movies of everybody who sent it to me, right?
Mm.
So it's been a weird experience because movies I absolutely hate have been voted for and that are objectively bad, like as in what? But it's been a lot of fun compiling them, and I can't wait for everybody to hear the finished product. Other than that, I've been playing my new PlayStation 4 that I purchased during Black Friday.
Mm.
Played the Spider-Man game, and Spider-Man is a good game. Call of Duty, which I am terrible at, and what was the other thing that I was doing? It doesn't matter. And I did see that new Spider-Man movie, and everyone should go see it.
I'm going to see it this weekend. I'm going to see the Spider-Man.
The John Spiderman,
John Spider-Man.
attorney at law.
That sounds great. I would watch that.
Have you been injured?
And on that note, let's go ahead and move into the news for this week. What do you say, gentlemen?
Sure.
Excellent.
So Sega, no Esquire, I do not want you to show me notifications. Get out of here. Sega just released classic games on Amazon TV. This is from EsquireMe.com. Let's see. Between the NES Classic, Super Nintendo Classic, and the Sony PlayStation Classic, and the 90s era kaleidoscope of old school games that are available on our current gen consoles on online stores, there's no shortage of nostalgia at your fingertips. In partnership with Amazon, Sega launched a library of 25 of its most popular Genesis games, including Sonic the Hedgehog, Golden Axe, and Altered Beast on the Fire TV. To make things even more enticing, you don't even have to go all out and order yourself an expensive Bluetooth gamepad. You can play the games right on the Alexa voice remote. Though the interface does allow you to play with your own controller, there is something truly exhilarating about saying, Alexa, turn off Miss Maisel and boot up Comic Zone, all without getting your ass off the couch. So for $14.99, you get Alien Storm, Altered Beast, Beyond Oasis, Comic Zone, Decap Attack, which we'll be talking about tonight. Let's see, Golden Axe 1, 2, 3, Gunstar Heroes, a bunch of Sonic stuff, Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, and The Revenge of Shinobi. So what do you guys think about being able to play classic games on your Fire Stick?
No, sir, why not? Don't like it.
No, sir, don't like it. No, I think it's cool. I actually have a Fire Stick. Well, won't be having it too much longer. I'm going to need to get a new one, but I would love to actually see if it works.
Well, it sounds like I wouldn't want to play with that controller, though.
Yeah,
and that
seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
It does. It's like, oh, don't worry, you don't have to buy a new controller. Well, you do if you want to play them.
Yeah.
I mean, worth anything. It's a good idea in theory, but I would have to actually have a hands-on for me to really be sold on this.
Yeah, I'm with Wally on this one. You know, having it on multiple platforms, I think, is great in theory, but it would be one of those things that I would have to actually try before I put down the money to do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really heard any reviews of how it runs or anything, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see some reviews of it, and then maybe I'll take a crack at it in the new year. But honestly, I'd rather just get the Genesis Classic games on the Switch. Drink while.
So that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that. It's like, if all of those games, okay, maybe not all of them, some of those games are the ones worth playing are on the Genesis Classics collection. I don't see why you would even want that if you have any of the consoles, because they're available.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if this is for somebody who doesn't really have any sort of console or anything, but does have nostalgia for old games, maybe this is directed at them.
Yeah, I mean, It has to be the people who grew up with them that didn't sink the money into a console.
Yeah. So I don't know. More places to get it, the better, I say.
Let's put them on our phones. Let's put
Yep.
it on the units that are inside the dashboards of our cars. Um,
I'm
I
down
mean,
with
at this
that.
point, why not, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, who cares? we'll have it. We'll have it on everything. It's on my watch, my Apple Watch.
Yeah. And our other news story comes to us from tweaktown.com. Switch Online may get SNES games and beyond. This is actually something that we haven't talked about yet, is after this holiday season, Nintendo will no longer be making the NES and SNES classics.
Mhm.
So once those are sold out, Switch Online will be the main path for retro gaming, which means it could expand considerably. In lieu of new retro consoles, Nintendo could use Switch Online as a new subscription-based virtual console that offers NES, SNES, and eventually even N64 games. Nintendo's latest Switch handheld console hybrid has no virtual console presence, a digital shop that sells older retro games on the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS from anywhere from $5 to $10. It does have classic games like Neo Geo and Sega games for $7.99 a pop, but beloved old school Nintendo games are missing in piecemeal sales. Eventually, Switch Online will be the only avenue for retro gaming on the hybrid system. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. It's actually kind of a decently long article.
Yeah.
It's basically saying that, with the NES and SNES classics eventually being discontinued, the Switch Online system is going to be the only place to get these games, but the problem is they're releasing them at the pace of a snail.
Yeah.
They release, 3 to 5 a month, and they're only doing NES games now, so eventually they would have to expand to SNES and N64. But the problem is if they keep releasing them at the pace that they are, they're going to lose out on a lot of money.
And that's the thing. I mean, they've got the perfect platform to put out pretty much every game that's ever been made for those consoles, and they could do it in the snap of a finger. But of course, Nintendo being Nintendo, they're I don't understand why they don't want our money.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, why dangle this carrot in front of our nose when you know that there's not enough carrots to go around?
Yeah.
It just seems so backwards. I mean, if they were releasing like 15, 20, like if it was a Netflix for classic games where you get like 15 new games every single month, then yeah, I don't see where there would be a problem with not releasing any other way of getting them. But because of the fact that there's only 3, like a month, 3 to 5, and they're all mostly games I really don't care about.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what is the incentive for me to buy a Switch for that purpose? And there's not much pulling me in that direction at this time.
I don't know. Maybe they're just kind of holding out until the NES and SNES classics are no longer being produced, and I don't know. Maybe once they're no longer in production, they'll start pushing out more virtual console games.
Well, that's soon because they said that they're going to stop production once this holiday season's over.
I mean, it would only make sense for Nintendo to do that, but we know how slow Nintendo can be to giving people actually what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're slow to react to the market.
Yeah. So.
I mean, if they go in this direction, I say just release the N64 games on this and not even do an N64 classic.
Yeah. That would make more sense to me.
Yeah.
Which is why Nintendo probably won't do that.
Yeah.
But no, I like Wally's idea. If you're only going to release a certain number of games per month, maybe do a total of 15, do 5 NES, 5 SNES, and 5 N64.
Yeah.
And then licensed classics from like the TurboGrafx and the
Neo Geo.
And I would love to see someone do like classic 3DO games too, or something like that. That would be awesome to be able to play like the Seventh Guest or something of that nature.
And all I'm asking for is just a virtual shop to get whatever I want, purchase whatever retro games I want to purchase in the shop. Like, why not?
Yes.
You don't have to give them to me. You know, like, it's cool to have the, you know, the Nintendo games come out for the Switch every month, but it's always kind of stuff that I'm really don't want to play. Like, I do want to play Metroid and Legend of Zelda and those type of things, but if you just give me a store, like if I have a Switch, you know, a Nintendo Switch Online, a year subscription, you know, let me have a discount in the store, like a 25% discount or 50% discount on something. Like, I would just purchase whatever I wanted to play.
Yeah, well, and you know, these companies that are nostalgic, that cruise on nostalgia, never give you any kind of a discount for anything.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's ever going to happen.
But any way
Probably
to
not.
get them would be nice. So come on, Nintendo, give us something here, please.
It would be nice.
But let's go ahead and move into this month in video game history. In December of 1983, Namco releases Pole Position 2, adding 3 additional tracks.
Let's say we've talked about pole position before, haven't we?
More than once.
Yeah.
You know, when you're positioning those poles,
Yeah, well.
it's much more difficult with those 3 tracks.
So many poles had to be positioned, they had to make a second game about it.
That's right. There weren't enough positions for the poles originally, but now there were 3 more, and it was fine.
I had a girlfriend once that liked to do the pole position. I nearly broke my hip. Let's move on.
Anyway, on
Downward
December
Donkey
12th,
Kong. Sorry.
December 12th, 1983, Nintendo publishes Donkey Kong Jr. Math for the Famicom.
Isn't Donkey Kong Jr. Math what Joey Image was talking about a few weeks ago or something like that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I can't even remember what the gameplay was like, but it sounds like a romp.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Thanks, Mom, for getting me a math game for Christmas. Great.
Best Christmas ever.
I just can't wait for I'm sorry, Grand Theft Calculus.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, your turn, Wally.
December doesn't have a date here.
1983.
Of 1983. Namco Libble Rabble? I sound like I'm drunk. Namco Libble Rabble System 16 Universal releases as Namco's second arcade system board to use a 16-bit microprocessor.
That was a mouthful.
Namco Libble Rabble.
They could have named
Love
it
the
something a
name,
little
never
easier.
heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of sounds like the Hamburglar. Robble, robble.
The Namco Rabble Rabble.
December of 1984, Namco again releases Super Exevious and Dragon Buster, the latter of which is one of the first games to feature a life bar. Did not know that.
Interesting.
I love finding out little facts like that. Like I would never know that Dragon Buster was the first game or one of the first games to use a life bar.
Yeah, and we don't get life bars anymore too often.
That's true. Before that, were they just, dying? I mean, what did they do before that?
One-hit deaths.
Basically, yes.
Pretty much, yeah. December of 1984, Capcom releases 1942.
I love 1942.
That's such a weird game to release in the United States. I mean, that's the game where you are a Japanese fighter pilot in World War II.
No, you're an American fighter pilot fighting the Japanese in the
No, sir, you are confused.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. That's a Japanese company. Why would they do it that way? I'm looking this up.
1942 is set in the Pacific Theater of World War II. The goal is to reach Tokyo and destroy the entire Japanese air fleet. No, that's why it's so weird about this game. You got a Japanese company making a game about Americans destroying Tokyo.
See, now it makes even less sense. It's like Capcom is letting you pay $60 so that you can murder them.
Yeah. Well, actually,
That's so much fun.
I think the one I'm thinking of is 1943, the Battle of Midway. I used to have that for the Nintendo, and I used to use my NES Advantage to play it.
Interesting.
Good game.
Well, in December of 1984, Irem releases Kung Fu Master and lays the foundations for the beat 'em up genre.
Kung Fu Master. Oh, yeah, I remember Kung Fu Master. I love this game. Oh, this is
Never
what they
played it, but I have
ported
seen the actual arcade board before.
Yeah, this is just what they ported to the Nintendo as Kung Fu.
Okay.
Oh.
Cool.
Also, to close out 1984, in December, Atari Games releases Marble Madness, their first game written in the C programming language and to use a 68,000 family microprocessor. I love Marble Madness so much.
Was it Madness with marbles?
It was madness. It was marbling madness.
It was marvelous.
Yes, it was marvelous.
Marvelous. Moving on to 1988, on December 1st, Nintendo releases Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link in America. The game had been released nearly 2 years earlier in Japan on the Famicom Disk System before America even saw the first Legend of Zelda.
I hate Zelda 2. So bad.
Yeah, it's not a good game. I do want to go back and try and finish it just for the sake of finishing it, but it's not a good game.
No,
it's
it's
a
not.
complete departure from what made the original great. They
Come at
tried
us,
to
bro.
Mario it up too much, and
Come
it
at
did
us,
not
bro.
work.
It is awful. It's not a good game.
So, in December 9th of 1988, Tecmo released Ninja Gaiden for the NES and Famicom.
My White Whale, which I will finish one day.
Ninja Gaiden.
On December 17th of 1988, Square Company releases... Square Company releases Final Fantasy II for the Famicom Disk System and the second installment of the Final Fantasy series. You don't say. But it's probably
Is it
like
really, though?
Final Fantasy IX when it came to America and, you know, that whole thing.
It is my favorite Final Fantasy game because I haven't played it.
That's awesome.
I love that joke so much. One day, one of us is going to piss off a diehard Final Fantasy fan, and they're just going to go off on us on Twitter, and it's going to be my favorite day ever.
Well, you know, this is something that's been going on since high school for me because, you know, I mentioned that I don't like the Final Fantasy games, and they always ask me why, and the answer is simple. I don't like taking turns hitting somebody.
Yeah. First I kick
That's a
you
good
in the
enough reason.
nuts, and then you kick me in the nuts.
The day Rochambeau.
That's what it stands for. RPG. Does it stand for Rochambeau playing game?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
On
like
this,
a congressional hearing. Yes.
Yes.
on
I do.
December, that gives me an idea for an episode of the show, but I'll talk about that later. December 24th, 1988, Capcom releases Mega Man 2 in Japan, eventually becoming the highest-selling installment of the entire franchise, with a total of 1.5 million copies sold.
And that's only to Jason.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
All of them. I did buy Mega Man 11 a couple of days ago, last week, and it is good, but good Lord, is it hard.
Random trivia note: this was one of the two games reviewed on the very first episode of the show,
Yes.
along
Now-
with Link to the Past.
Yes.
Yes.
And speaking of taking turns, December 6th of 1989, Strategic Studies Group, which sounds like a blast,
Yeah.
releases Warlords, which was one of the first fantasy turn-based strategy games.
Let me look at this. Warlords. Oh, yeah, this isn't what I was thinking of. There's a Atari 2600 game called Warlords, wasn't there? Where you like defend your bases in the four corners of the screen.
I really don't know.
That's what I thought.
Strategic Studies Group sounds like something I had to be in because I was in trouble.
I know that's the worst development company name ever. Isn't it? Is it just me?
Yeah, I mean,
It does sound like a school club.
Ugh. On December 15th of 1989, Hudson Soft releases Bonk's Adventure, introducing the TurboGrafx 16 mascot and starting the Bonk franchise.
I love Bonk.
I would love to get my hands on a copy of Bonk for the NES because it goes for a lot of money these days.
Really?
Yes, it does.
Well, I played it on TurboGrafx 16, and it was so good. Climbing up hills using your teeth. It just, I don't know why that just captured my imagination. Just that one thing. Like, here I am, this big-headed little boy, gnawing my way up a hill. It was great.
Yeah, I used to go into
I'm looking at screen caps, and I want to play this game.
I used to go into the Toys R Us back in the 90s when they had a TurboGrafx 16, set up to play, and they had Bonk's Adventure. It almost made me want to buy one.
Yeah.
Here we go, right here. Bonk's Adventure for the NES on eBay right now, the $499.95. Or there's one that would buy it now for $539.99. Here's one complete in box for $1,249.99.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Let's see. December 15th of 1989, Technosoft releases Herzog Zwei, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, for the Mega Drive in Japan, laying the foundations for the real-time strategy genre.
I remember us trying to pronounce this last year. Herzog Zwei.
Zwei.
Everything in this month's trivia sounds like something that we would say drunk.
Yeah, it does.
Herzog Zwei had a
Let me tell you about that Herzog Zwei game.
I was in my strategic studies group when Herzog Zwei came over, and he was playing this new music called Techno Soft, and
but,
you wouldn't.
You know what? It was still better than Final Fantasy.
That's right.
All right, Wally, round us out.
On December 22nd, 1989, Konami releases Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, the third and final game from the series for NES.
Love the game, but man, is it hard. Too many stairs. Too many damn stairs in that game.
Apparently the creators of these games had a fetish with stairs.
Yeah.
So, Wally, are you ready to do your review tonight?
I am ready.
Well, here, let me play a little music for you. Hold on. I'll play it as soon as I get it. Here we go. That is jaunty.
Yes.
Well, tonight, Wally is going to be talking about
Decap Attack.
Yes.
Decap Attack is a 1991 platformer game developed by Vic Takai and published by Sega for the Sega Genesis. The game is a westernized version of a 1990 Japanese Mega Drive game called, get this, Magical Hat no Batobi Tabu Daiko Boken. Now you look at it and it makes you go, what? It looks like Magical Hat no Butthole Taboo Daikon Radishes.
Magical Hat no Butthole Taboo. That's what we're going to name the episode tonight.
That would be pretty taboo in its defense.
with the art, plot, music, and level designs all being changed. So I mean, what's left?
What's
Both.
really?
Well, they just wanted to put that title in there.
Yeah.
Both are updates of the 1988 NES game Kid Cool and the 1989 Master System game Psycho Fox. The game was also released for the Sega Genesis Collection for PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection for the 360, PlayStation 3, Steam, and Sega Forever mobile service. So basically, how do I even describe this game?
Well, I remember playing it with you a couple of months ago when you were thinking about getting rid of you had the Sega Genesis collection for the Xbox.
Yeah, which is the exact same thing that they're coming out with for Switch.
Yeah.
And the way it works is there's an island that is shaped like a skull, like a human, well, not a skull, a human skeleton, and it kind of segments into different pieces. Now, I don't really understand exactly what's going on, but you are playing as a character named Chuck D. Head, which is so cute. Basically, he's a headless mummy created by the mad scientist Dr. Frank N. Stein and his assistant Igor, who incidentally looks like Frankenstein monster. And he's sent to defeat the Max Decap, a demon who has returned from the underworld with his army of monsters to conquer the surface world. So basically the game goes, hi, we created you. They never really explain this, but your character has a face in his stomach, and your attack is you shoot the face out of your stomach, and you can actually find a head to put on the top of your body to throw at enemies. I am not high, by the way. So the way the game goes is like this. It's a platforming game, and you go through the levels, and there's your normal platforming stuff where you have to avoid the enemies. You can stop them either by hitting them with the head, throwing the head at them, or jumping on top of them until they explode into skeletons. And throughout the level, there's these like tiki totems that you can hit with your face head, and they will break open to give you like potions and things of that nature, or you can find your head that way. As the game progresses, you can also find enemies hidden inside of them, which is bullshit. But and you can also find nothing. So, but as you progress, you're fighting characters, and they're weird characters. Like there's an apple-looking fellow that shoots arrows out of his head. There's skeleton fish and just birds. They're just a random assortment of things that you're supposed to fight, and I don't understand some of them. Like in one level, there's an otter who is wearing sunglasses, who looks like he's from an entirely different game. There's like a robot that is trying to catch you, and when it tries to attack you, it has this mouth that looks like the alien's mouth, and it just seems so inconsistent and weird. And the way it controls is odd, because like I said, there are these potions and things that you can collect.
That was one of the things I was going to bring up, because I remember when me and you were playing it that first night, it was really hard to control.
Yeah,
the controls of the game are kind of slippery.
Yeah, because you expect one button to be select. Okay, so the way it does is like this. Yeah, it is kind of slippery. He feels like he's on ice at all times. Yeah. In fact, he does that little, oh my god, I'm going to fall down animation almost all the time. But whenever you try to, there's a button to go into the lab, and use one of your potions. And there's not really a way to, because the way it works is there's like a little arrow that you point at the potion, and you have to select it. And figuring out what button selects it always brings me back to the main game multiple times before I figure it out. Because you would think it's the same select button as it was to get in there, and it is not.
Huh.
So you hit the select button, you go in there, you select the one that you want, and then you have to basically ask, what does this do? And then once it tells you, you can decide whether or not to use it. And it takes forever to figure out how to get out because it's not the obvious choice. You have to hit the other select button. I mean, it's convoluted. And, but the power-ups do help out in certain times because it'll freeze your enemies, or it will make gravity not work as well, or something of that nature. There's one that helps with boss battles, and it shoots like a fireball at the boss. And the bosses are incredibly weird. There's one that is, like the first one looks like, I don't know how to describe this, like a shrunken head if it had a body with horns, and it takes off the horns and flings them at you. So you have to move out of the way and hit them. And it's so bizarre. And there's another one where it looks like a giant, I don't know, like a brain with two halves, like the top half and the bottom half looks like the top half of a brain. I don't know. And then it opens up and there's like a clam looking thing in there. Like, not to be crude, but it looks kind of like a clitoris just popping out of there. And you have to jump up and you have to attack the clitoris.
That's what I do all the time.
You got to mash
Does that
on
make
it
you
really
the
well.
commander?
That's right. I command it. And you got to mash it just so, and the good thing is that you can use one of the potions on it. So you can stick there longer, and you can hit it as long as you can until it's gone, until it's finished. And but the game is inconsistently difficult. They're like the very first level is, and the reason why it's like that is because when you die, you start all the way over at the beginning of the game. But you don't get any of the power-ups again. But the enemies are back. So, yes, if you got the head in that section and all the potions over here or whatever, or the heart, whatever, they're gone because you already used them.
That sucks.
Yes. So, and I think it's like that so you don't die on purpose and go through and restock all the potions, but at the same time I couldn't get through it the first time. Now I definitely can't because I don't have any hearts anywhere to find. So it's wildly inconsistent, but it's still a lot of fun. It's so different from anything else that's out there that I would highly recommend you at least play it for the novelty factor. Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, you're a mummy with a face in its head, in its stomach, flinging it at people and throwing a head across the I mean, this is basically this is probably the best game I've ever played where I have to attack people with my face.
So, Derek,
I also feel it's the only one.
Did you have any opinions? Have you ever played Decap Attack?
No, I haven't, but now I really want to. It just sounds just weird enough where it would be fun.
It is was really interesting. I mean, I love the aesthetic of the game. I love the way it looks. I like the sound of it. The artwork's really cool. I just found the controls to just be really way too slippery to be a good platformer. Like it's frustratingly, I don't. It's frustrating because it's like Wally said. It's like the character is constantly on ice, so it's really hard to kind of judge your jumps and things like that, and you get killed way too easily. So I don't know. It's. I mean, I would like to play it a lot, but it seems like the kind of game that would frustrate me if I played it for too long.
Well, I beat the game when I was a kid, and it was not worth it. But it was still a lot. I felt this great sense of accomplishment because it was so damned hard.
Yeah.
And you know, and you talk about how, you know, the controls are imprecise. I mean, but the more you play it, the better you get at judging things.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of how that works.
But at the same time, you'll run into places like there are sections where the platforms are almost invisible. They're camouflaged into the background, and you're like, well, where am I supposed to be jumping? And there'll be times where it's more difficult because you failed earlier, and you know the platforms that will fall away, they're still gone when you come back. So so all the enemies come back, but nothing that helps you is still there. Wow. So it is a frustrating game, but I don't think that if you pick it up, you're going to be too disappointed. I also don't think you're going to spend a lot of time with it either.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you guys use? Up to 10 rating or up to 5?
We usually do 10. Up to 10.
So I'll give it a 5.5.
Well, I mean, this game is always on those, Sega collections, and I'm pretty sure it's coming out for the Switch too with the new Sega collection that's coming out. I mean, this was, I remember the advertising for this game when I was a kid. Like, this game was advertised pretty heavily. Especially like in comic books and things like that. So, I love I would love to just have a poster of the game cover. Like, I love the art of this game. Like, just it's so wonderfully weird.
Yeah, I agree, because the aesthetic of the whole game is so bizarre. I mean, but it also is, the aesthetic is also why it's frustrating, because I know that the whole design of Chuck D. Head had to be an artistic choice, because it does not help gameplay. Yeah. There's water sections where there are like jellyfish, and unless you have that head on the top of your head, you're gonna get hurt going through there, because they swim up to the top of the water section, and and your face that you're throwing at them is in your tummy. There's no way to hit them at that point. You have to back up and go up a little, if that even exists, to hit them, because they're all up in where your face should be instead of in your belly face. This is a weird conversation.
Yeah.
Decap Attack is on that Sega collection for the Switch.
Yeah, this was a pretty big Genesis release back in the day, so I'm not surprised that it's always on every sort of Genesis collection, because this was a big release for Sega back in the day.
Yeah, I had it.
I'm sure everybody did.
I only owned 2 games, and this was one of them. No, I had more than that, but I had all the Sonic games and this.
So you do recommend the game, though, right?
I recommend it. I mean, if you're a Sega fan, you definitely need this game. Honestly, if you're an art fan, because I think this game really qualifies as a work of art because of how bizarre it is. I don't think you'll find anything that is so inconsistent. It's so consistently inconsistent with its art style, and it's got a wonderful soundtrack. That music that you played earlier was from the first level.
Yeah.
The actual theme song to the game is a jaunty tune, and it's stuck in my head ever since I was 13.
Yeah.
So I do recommend that any Genesis fan has this in their library.
So this was published by Sega because I was actually wondering why this wasn't a a multi-console release.
Yeah, it was developed for and by Sega, and it was based on that magical hat, no butthole.
So I wonder why Sega never tried to make this into a like a franchise. Because I mean, obviously it sold well enough.
Um, Maybe it was too. Maybe parents didn't like it, or
Huh.
I mean, because it's weird. I mean, you're hitting people with your face head. I mean, your stomach head face. What? I
Yeah.
mean, what are you doing here? It just I don't know. It was just super weird. There could have been so much done in a sequel. In fact, if they make a sequel, that would be amazing.
You never know. I mean,
Yeah.
if interest is there, I don't see why Sega wouldn't make it for the Switch. You're out of drink, Wally. You're gonna have to get some more. Oh, there you go.
I come prepared.
So,
He knew this was coming.
anything else anybody want to throw in about Decap Attack before we leave tonight?
Sounds like it would have made an interesting cartoon series as well.
I highly agree.
Well, it did say here, a comic strip loosely based upon Decap Attack appeared in the UK's Sonic the Comic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Strip contained a very absurdist and manic sense of humor, dealing with the daily life of Chuck, the evil-minded Igor, and the stereotypical mad scientist Professor Frankenstein, who is actually faking his German accent and is really a former choir boy from Cardiff. What?
Odd.
Max Decap only appeared twice in the strip. In the first story, and one where the characters went to hell, and was partnered both times with his accountant, who was constantly encouraging Max to be more stereotypically evil in his mannerisms. Max is described by the professor as being one of the most evil beings alive, and he borrowed the professor's lawnmower and never returned it. Am I having a stroke, or was that an actual sentence I just read?
You must understand that he is one of the most evil beings alive. He borrowed my lawnmower and never returned it.
Okay, then. All right. Well, yeah, that was a sentence.
In a fake German accent.
Yeah.
That's what it said it was in. So,
So, fellas, let's go ahead and start wrapping this up because we are recording our Christmas episode this evening as well. So,
Yes.
Wally, anything else you want to throw in or anything to tell people about before we get out of here tonight?
if you have top 100 movie list, now I will take a list that has less than 100 movies on it. The position of them do matter. Your number 1 will be worth 100. Your number 100 will be worth 1. And you just send that to the real big wall at. Wait, is that my email address?
Yes.
Yes, the real big wall at gmail.com with the top 100 as the subject matter. I do recommend separating movies in a series, even if you see them as one movie. That's not going to help their chances. And what else is there about that? Yeah, you have until January 1st. So you don't have a lot of time, but you have more time than you think. And you can also go to my Facebook page, which is Great Movie Guide, and at Great Movie Guide on Twitter.
And when you first started talking about it, I thought it would be daunting to make a list of 100 movies, but it was actually relatively easy to do. You don't realize how many movies you like until you start writing out a list.
Well, let me. This is going to be another exclusive for you. I'm going to give you the top 10 as of right now.
Awesome.
Do it.
So, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 10 is Beetlejuice. 9 is The Dark Knight. 8 is Die Hard. 7, Return of the Jedi. 6, Fellowship of the Ring. 5, Raiders of the Lost Ark. 4, The Princess Bride. 3, Ghostbusters. 2, Empire Strikes Back. And the number 1 movie of all time is something you're going to have to come back May 1st.
Ah.
Love it. Love the tease.
I'm not even going to give it away on May 1st.
You blow it!
You are welcome.
So, Derek, anything else you want to throw out there before we leave this evening?
Yeah, as we mentioned at the top of the show, wrapped filming of the Parker Syndrome this weekend. If you want to check out some photos from this weekend shoot, you can go to all the social medias and just search for the Parker Syndrome. My solo show, the Derek Diamond Experience, will be relaunching with kind of like a mini bonus episode on January 3rd. And then the following week, the 10th, will be under the new format where I'll be talking with those who work in the film and television industry. And you can follow the podcast on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at D Diamond Podcast.
Fantastic. And I have nothing going on personally, so just go follow me over on Twitter at JFunktastic. I'll have something going on again one day soon, hopefully. Help me. But let's go ahead and we'll play our music here. If you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We are at nerdcaveretro.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, at jfunktastic, at Derek_Diamond, and at The Real Big Wall. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. Go support us on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. And if you can't do that, then go leave us a review wherever you download our show from. So everyone, I want to say thank you to Wally for coming on the show tonight. And Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
Wow.
Alrighty then.
Excellent.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the Twitch stream, and we will take a quick 5-minute break, 5 to 6 minute break, so we can go pee, do whatever we got to do, and then we'll come back and record our Christmas episode. So everybody is watching on Twitch or will watch on YouTube, thank you, and we will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.